Welcome to the Squeeze with Tony Pasquazi and Frankie Bacalars. We're so happy to have senior goaltender Al Rogers coming off in a phenomenal performance last night against Gustavus right here at St. Mary's Ice Arena. Al, thank you so much for coming on.
Hey, yeah, thanks for having me, guys. It's a pleasure to be on the Squeeze. So I know we talked about having me on for a few years now, and I'm finally able to make it work. It's awesome. So glad to be here, guys. Thanks for having me.
And you're actually the first male hockey player ever on the Squeeze, which seems like
that's true.
It's true. We should have done this like before, but yeah. So you definitely earned a T-shirt. I'll grab you one sometime.
Awesome.
So let's just get right into it. Let's talk about last night. How do you feel after a game in which you were probably the biggest factor in the win?
I mean, I feel good. I'm glad we got the job done. At the end of the day, we had a lot of freshmen in the lineup, the most that we've had at one time since I've been at St. Mary's, and I thought we held on to the lead very well for the most part. Everybody's, there was obviously some growing pains in the beginning of the game. People hadn't played a game in over a year, including us seniors and juniors. So I felt like it was a really good stepping stone for us as a team to get those guys big time minutes and introduce them to college hockey. So I'm glad we came away with the win, and I thought everyone pulled their weight and did an excellent job. So we're just really happy about the result.
Yeah, and some of those guys include Bud Winter and the Kimu brothers, and then even Andrew Fraze, the transfer from Finlandia. Do you expect to see them on the ice as much as they were yesterday?
I do. Obviously, Coach Egan has brought in these guys for a specific purpose. We added a lot more height and weight to our lineup. Not exactly the exact stat he had mentioned, but we're definitely a much bigger and more physically imposing team out there. So I definitely think that adds to our game and the brand of hockey that Coach Egan is trying to instill in this program now since he's taken over. Obviously, we did have some guys out of lineup due to COVID restrictions and stuff like that, but I do expect a lot of those guys to be getting similar minutes to what they had last night, and I think they did tremendously well with that. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what they can do in game two for sure. Now that they have that one under their belt.
I really like what you said about like being a more physically imposing team, because that actually brings me to my main thing for you. Dude, you got jacked this summer. You got huge. How important was that for you to have like this season? Like what did you do? Like how did you prepare yourself for that? Because I remember seeing you this fall and you were like my one person where I was like, holy cow, this guy put in work this summer. It's like how important is that for you guys?
It's extremely important. I felt like it was my job to come into the season, depending on when we were going to play, and in the best shape that I could. And I got in touch with my trainer, who I had been training with in the past, and I just made it a point that I wanted to get bigger, faster, stronger. And he was like, "Listen, as long as you're willing to put in the time and the effort, like I can get you there." So we just really focused on explosive movements. Obviously building muscle, but also trying to maintain, that speed that I had, the prior years. It just really comes down to a lot of time and effort I invested in the gym, and hopefully, I can continue to use that to my advantage with the remaining games that we have. So I appreciate that, Franks.
Yeah.
And so kind of in the same vein of just working out, being in your best shape possible yesterday, I mean, you had 12 saves or something in the first period, and then you had, 10 more saves in the second period, but you had to let up a few more rebounds and such. And then by the third, you were still saving a majority of the pucks, but you let a few in. Was that kind of just your stamina wearing off, or what do you think your depleting play? Like what were the factors in that?
as I was watching the game film last night, I got back and I kind of like wanted to dissect the game a little bit because, obviously I was happy to get the win, but I wasn't exactly pleased with the way that I did play at the end. I feel like just as a team, we were in a comfortable position with having a 4-1 lead. And like I said, it was a lot of guys' first college hockey games, and no lead is safe in the MIAC. We've learned that in the prior years on how a team can fight its way back, and we've done so as well in the past. So just maintaining that, that never give up mentality and continue to like kind of, for lack of a better better word, but step on the throat and, keep going type of deal. So I feel like, we I don't know if we let up, but we definitely learned a valuable lesson in continuing that onslaught and applying, the right amount of pressure for a full 60 minutes, not just, 40 or 50. So we got to maintain that complete game. And I feel like, after last night, we're going to be able to do that on the coming games for sure.
Yeah, and I think like especially with the shortened schedule, it's so important to, like there's not really much room for error. You gotta all 60 minutes, like you said, keep your foot on their throat. I think that's super important, especially with the shortened schedule.
Yeah, and then that reminds me of last season where you were 7-7 against MIAC playoff teams and nationally ranked opponents. You were a big part in those nationally ranked wins, and then you were 1-4-1 in games that against opponents that didn't make the MIAC playoffs. So does that kind of go along with this theme of maybe playing down to competition or letting up just the slightest bit?
I definitely think it's a trend, we've seen in prior years, not just last year. I don't think anybody goes into the game thinking that it's going to be an easy match. The MIAC for one conference compared to the rest is anybody could be anybody. And that's just a given fact. So we never go into a game thinking that, oh, this is going to be point night or anything like that. It just does not happen. Sometimes you're lucky even against, a team who may be struggling to get, 3 goals. They meet a hot goalie and that's just the game of the story. But we just need to maintain that, like I said, that 60 minutes and never let up. So I definitely think that, the guys who Coach Egan's brought in have that mentality of, it doesn't matter who we're playing, that we're always going to give that constant effort. And I feel like we have a team that's going to be consistent. I think that's been our biggest flaw the past couple of years is our inconsistency, myself included. I feel like we're going to be able to, continue to move in the right direction and not take any nights off for sure.
Yeah, so I got another question. Coach Egan explained what a lucky was on the Cardinals nest, and I thought it was pretty funny. But I instantly thought about you and Nast. Do you have to do it in your goalie gear, and do you have to be as quick as the rest of the
So yeah, we definitely have to do luckies. That is for sure. It's not my favorite drill to do, but it's great for conditioning. I've come to find, you gotta find joy in every drill you do, no matter what. It's a pleasure and a privilege to be on the ice, no matter what. So just having that mindset when you're doing it and realize that, you're getting better, working hard and pushing yourself. And I feel like a lot of the guys feel that same way too. A lot more guys are kind of like, instead of like, oh, it's lucky, it's like, all right, let's put in the work right now. You know what I mean? It's going to make a difference between that, like I've been saying, that 60 minutes when you don't have a lot of juice left in the tank. Those luckies are going to pay off, and I definitely feel like they have been. So, yeah, like I said, not ideal, but definitely necessary, and we're definitely going to be doing a lot more this year. That's for sure.
Yeah, and then to stay in this thread, Coach Egan, he was great on the Cardinals nest. He gave me so many points. He definitely doesn't coach speak. He gave a lot of specifics. And one of those specifics was him suggesting that it may be a weakness on this team losing a player like Kyle Mee, who was so good offensively as a defenseman and also a really good defender as well. Did you notice a difference last night with that lack of Kyle Mee?
It was definitely weird not having Kyle out there. I would also say Seth Camras too. They were two integral parts, both on the defensive and defensive side. But I felt like the guys that we had in there did a really good job at, buckling down and making the right plays and letting me see all the shots. So obviously there were some times where you could tell that, we had freshmen out there and it was their first game. I thought they really settled in well and made my job a lot easier for sure. So to answer your question, yes, it was different without Kyle and without Seth, but I feel like the guys that we had did a fabulous job, and I'm looking forward to playing behind them, the rest of the season for sure.
So another thing that Coach Egan mentioned on the Cardinals Nest, it's just the one thing that I can pull from because it's the one time I've ever heard him speak. But he mentioned that he was a little disappointed in you guys last year, Nick Nast and yourself, Al Rogers. And he set really high expectations for you. And I was interested to find out what those expectations were. So I emailed him and he responded and told me that he told you guys that, he wants you at a 90% save percentage or above. You did that last night. You've done it before in your career. So has Nick Nast. What is the likelihood that you finish this season satisfying that expectation of Coach Ryan Egan?
Ever since I've been cognizant about, stats in hockey, you're always striving for that 90% save percentage and, 3 goals or under goals against average. I feel like that's for any goalie. Those are the numbers that you strive for. Coach Egan and I have had plenty of conversations about just being consistent. I've had a lot of, games in the past where I could say I played very well, and others that I didn't have it that night. And I felt like going into the summer, back to Frankie's point about getting bigger, faster, stronger, having that stamina is just being able to maintain that over the course of the season. I'd realize that I'd come into the season, I'd play really well in the beginning, and then I kind of taper off towards the end. So I just wanted to make sure that that wouldn't be an issue this year, and that I'd be able to continue to play well through the full schedule, and just come into practice every day with that mindset of I'm going to get better today and I'm going to prepare for the weekend. So I definitely think that we'll be able to satisfy that expectation. Obviously there are other factors involved, penalties and stuff like that are out of our control, but we definitely just, as long as we just maintain that mindset of never give up and continue to improve on a day-to-day basis, I feel like we'll have no problem, managing that expectation for sure. And Coach Egan has obviously stressed that he wants us to have that 90%, but for us as goaltenders, we've instilled in us that we want to set an even higher expectation. I like to use the motto, you shoot for the moon, you land them on the stars type of deal. So we set a higher expectations. We may not meet that, but at least we'll end up meeting coach's expectations. So we just need to continue to work every day, and I think we'll be all right.
Okay, and then one more before we get out of here. I kind of asked you before we started the recording, but how do you think Coach Egan is going to balance the goaltenders? You only have 10 games left, and there are 3 goalies that all need minutes. So how do you think he's going to work through that the rest of the season?
Obviously with the shortened schedule, it's difficult to get everybody involved. I think it's important to definitely have more than just one goalie involved. With the COVID protocols, things change on a day-to-day basis. So it's important to have more than just one guy in the mix. I'm not exactly sure how he's going to manage that situation, but I've had a few conversations with him, and we've both been on the same page about getting other guys involved, and it's definitely important for the team to be behind both goalies, whoever is playing. So that's the most important thing, is that whoever is in the net, the team will believe in that goalie and is confident playing in front of them. So I think it's just take it day by day. continue to improve, like I said, and I'm sure whoever we have in the net, they're going to be great as long as they continue to, improve and get the trust of the team. So, just yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Just got to keep playing, keep getting those wins, and hopefully we won't have many issues in that department for sure.
Awesome. Really great stuff, Al. Thank you so much.
No, thanks for having me, guys. It was a pleasure.